common struggle for product teams is balancing stakeholder demands for outputs while trying to drive customer outcomes. Output-focused organizations obsess over deliverables, the number of features shipped, new pages built, sprint completion. Outcomes focus on the impact created for customers and users. Did we actually solve their problem? Did we deliver value they cared about? My guest today, Jason Knight, argues product thinkers must frame everything around outcomes and business results rather than internal outputs and metrics. Jason admits this is easier said than done in output-driven cultures, but the emphasis starting small, nudging teams towards thinking in terms of customers and business outcomes rather than features pushed out is imperative. Join us to hear why Jason believes a relentless focus on outcomes over outputs is key to building incredible products that solve real problems for real people. So I want to bring up one of the challenges that I've seen a lot with both in the leadership and in the product management role, which speaks to a bigger issue in the organization, usually around their product culture. But this issue of there's more of, and this is not something new that I'm bringing up. This is something that there's been a conversation going around this issue for a while, which is the obsession with outputs over outcomes. And there's this unbelievable challenge that I see again and again where a great potential product is turned into something that it shouldn't be for the sake of trying to assert a sense of control, right? That we want to see outputs because it gives us a sense of, a false sense in many cases of progress, of control. I need a plan. Well, do I have the information to create an accurate plan? Do I have the requirements I need to build something correctly without incurring debt? And so you brought up, these business skills, and it seems to me that this issue is highlighting one of the facts that there are some essential product skills that should be evolving into core business skills, that product actually has a lot to teach business on how to be more effective. And I want to get your take on that.
I agree, but I also think that trying to frame it in those terms is very tricky because basically what it sounds like to a non-product person is that you're saying that they're dumb and they don't understand things as well as you do. I know that's not what you're saying, but that's how it sounds when you I've had actual conversations myself in the past where I've tried to win via that kind of argument and didn't go down very well because, of course, the person on the other side of the discussion thought effectively that I was saying that they didn't know what they were talking about, and all my only arguments that I could come up with were effectively fairly bookish, theoretical, idealistic arguments. Now, that doesn't mean that they were the wrong arguments. I just think it's really difficult because, and actually this is something that I remember chatting to Jeff Gottelf about a little while ago when I had the honor of interviewing him, because he's big on OKRs and outcomes over outputs and all of the kind of classic product management thinking. And one of the things that I posited to him at the time, because he was talking a lot about outcomes over outputs and the need to focus on the former, not the latter. But one of the points that I raised was that to some people, maybe that aren't thinking about things in product terms or design thinking, all of this stuff, is they think that the outcome, or rather they think that the output is an outcome, because the outcome for them is that the sales team have something new to sell. That's how they see the company growing. And therefore, by building stuff, you're putting more stuff that they can price up, upsell, put into contracts, get sales teams talking about. And to them, that they don't see the product itself driving that growth because, of course, they're fully sales-led, and it's the salespeople that ultimately are going out there and selling it. Now, obviously, we know that if you don't put the right features in the product and the right capabilities in the product, then the sales team are going to have a hell of a job selling it. However, it's this kind of mindset shift around whatever the product team do, you put it down and I'll kick it into the net sort of thing. It's well, okay, cool. But that may be, and again, I don't know if this is true, it's more of just a thought experiment or a hypothesis from me. Is it that maybe more commercially minded, less product focused people, they don't really getting into outcome and output discussions is something that they just don't understand. Like, not that they don't understand, that's the wrong term, but like they just don't think it's important, because what they see is we need to get some stuff out. We need to differentiate ourselves against our competitors. We need to have things that we can upsell in the next round of contract renewals. We need to have new shiny things that we can say that we've got for our investors and stuff like that. And I'm not going to say that any of those are wrong as such. Like, I think just doing it for those reasons is probably problematic. But at the same time, if you're sitting there saying our investors are breathing down our neck because we need to have ChatGPT integrated or something like that, and they think that that would show that we're a good company that can get invested in the follow-on round, like whatever. Like, I don't think it's necessarily the best reason to do it, but I can understand where it comes from. And again, having these capabilities in the platform could be seen by very commercially focused people as being very much an outcome. Now, obviously, we look at an outcome, and Jeff, when he pushed back on that concept, was like, well, an outcome is something that happens to the users. It's a user outcome, not an us outcome. And I think that's a big maybe disconnect between non-product and product thinkers. But then the question then goes to, well, how do we persuade people that what we think is the right way? Now, obviously, that supposes that there is a right way, let alone whether ours is the right way. And I just think it's incredibly tricky to try and take it down to kind of idealistic buzzword thinking, because as soon as people hear that, they shut down. So this is where I try and get back down to, I mean, I try not to really talk about, basically product thinking or agile or lean or any outcomes at all. Like, I try to very much frame things in business terms as best I can, using explicit examples, some things that the company has already admitted have been problematic in the past. So, for example, if a company's sitting there saying, well, we've had some problems delivering this because of X, Y, and Z, and you start to look into the cause of X, Y, and Z, and like maybe some of the things that maybe contributed to that, and start picking away at it. Because the first thing you can do, if you can get people to admit that there even was a problem, that the way that they're working isn't actually working quite well for them, like no matter what they think about an outcome or an output, there's a problem there to be solved. And if you go in there and say, right, almost like from first principles, these are the contributory factors to that problem. These are things that maybe we could do next time differently. And we all know that the things that we're going to recommend are going to be quote unquote product thinking, or things that product people want to do, because that's the angle that we're coming at it from. But at least then you're trying to win the argument, for want of a better word, on the facts and things that resonate, rather than getting sort of tied up in things that sounds like almost like an academic paper to some people.
So just to kind of round that out, I mean, I'm hearing two kind of major takeaways. One, the first one, I guess I would say, is context is everything, right? The context of why that output is necessary, what is actually happening within, why that might be more valuable than the outcome, or it's a step towards the outcome, is essential. The second piece that you touch on that's really standing out to me is that the common language for between product and the rest of the organization needs to be one of business. I'm curious if I'm hearing that correctly, or if you would phrase that differently.
I think probably. So, like, if I'm thinking about the idea that rather than so I've been in situations in the past where the product team has very much been seen as kind of like message handlers that, kind of take things between the engineers and the rest of the business and then back again, and like they're just there to kind of facilitate. And of course there's always a bit of facilitation in product management, but I think to use your framing now, I think that making product management business partners is incredibly important if we want to realize the value of product management and have it seen as an actual valuable partner within the business. Now, I'm sure you did, a lot of people laughed back in the days when HR teams started to refer to themselves, instead of just HR people, as like HR business partners and stuff like that. Like, that was just something that came up. It became a bit of a trend in a few companies, and like you'd laugh at it because it's almost like the kind of feel like people are just inventing job titles themselves. But actually, I think on second thoughts, I actually think it's a very positive thing, because you're not sitting there saying that these people are a cost center. You're not sitting here saying that these people are just there to shovel. You're saying that these people are here to help your business get better. And I think that the more that we can persuade our business partners that we're helping, or we're trying to help the business get better, rather than running some kind of theoretical research project where we're trying to just do some bits and pieces that we think might work. Now, again, I agree with experimentation. I agree with learning cultures. I agree with working small and getting stuff out and being as lean and agile as everyone else. But if you try and win the argument on those terms, you always end up getting kind of caught up in wordplay and linguistics and stuff like that. What I want to be able to persuade people that I work with that I'm going to do for them is help their business get better. Now, obviously, in product terms, it's helping their business get better by giving them loads and loads and loads of satisfied users. Like, we can't forget the user in all of this. But from their perspective, the business is the thing. Like, certainly from a leadership perspective, it's all about the business. So if we can persuade our business partners that we are their business partners and use language that resonates with them, still saying the same things, but just in a way that's a bit more palatable, I think that can help. It goes back to that kind of empathy and just trying to work across teams more than being seen as these kind of ideologues that are just sort of saying things in a certain way that doesn't really resonate with anyone.